Imagine you're standing on a high mountain pass, wrapped in the cold, gray mists of dawn. You're inching along a narrow ledge, the air thin and sharp. Every step is a careful calculation, a choice between solid ground and the deep abyss below. Suddenly, the silence is broken. A sharp, metallic crack echoes from the cliffs above. In less than a tenth of a second, before you can even process what that sound was, your body has already transformed. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a caged bird. Your breath becomes shallow and fast. Blood rushes from your stomach to your legs. Your pupils dilate, soaking in every last bit of light. Your mind, just a moment ago filled with thoughts of your journey, is now wiped clean, replaced by a single, deafening command: survive. This is the raw, unfiltered theater of emotion. It's a system designed not for our comfortable modern lives, but for the harsh, unforgiving world of our ancestors. We like to think of ourselves as rational beings who sometimes feel, but the biological truth is much more humbling. We are emotional beings who occasionally think. Beneath the surface of our civilized lives lies a vast, ancient machinery. A complex network of neurons and chemicals that governs every decision we make, every bond we form, and every reaction we have. To understand this machinery is to pull back the curtain on what it truly means to be human. For most of us, emotions are like the weather, they seem unpredictable, sometimes overwhelming, and completely outside our control. We feel a surge of anger in a boardroom meeting, a hollow ache of sadness from a fleeting memory, or the electric spark of joy with someone we love. These feelings seem intensely personal, uniquely ours. But in reality, they are the product of millions of years of evolutionary fine-tuning. Every gut feeling and every instinct is a whisper from our distant past, a signal from a brain that was forged in a world where the stakes were always life or death. To understand these reactions is to study human history itself, written not in books, but in the language of our nervous system. So, to begin this journey into the hidden psychology of our reactions, we have to look back. We must look to the dark forests and open savannas where the first blueprints of our emotional architecture were drawn. We have to ask, why did nature give us the capacity for fear, love, rage, and shame? What purpose do these feelings serve, and why, in our modern world of steel and glass, do they still hold such absolute power over us? The story of human emotion doesn't start with the heart, but with the lizard. Deep in the center of the human brain lies a cluster of structures that neuroscientists often call the reptilian brain. This is the oldest part of our neural heritage, responsible for the most basic functions of life: breathing, heart rate, and the fundamental drive to stay alive. But as life got more complex, as creatures started navigating social groups and varied environments, a new layer emerged. This is the limbic system, the very seat of our emotional life. And within this system, one small almond-shaped structure stands as the undisputed guard of our safety: the amygdala. The amygdala is our brain's early warning system. It's constantly scanning the environment for threats, looking for anything that might signal danger. It doesn't care about nuances or subtleties. It operates on a simple binary logic. Is this safe, or is this a threat? When the amygdala detects something suspicious, it doesn't wait for a second opinion from the higher, more logical parts of the brain. It triggers an immediate, body-wide response. It sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus, which acts like a command center, flooding the body with a cocktail of hormones, most notably adrenaline and cortisol. This is the famous fight-or-flight response. It's a masterpiece of biological engineering. Adrenaline increases your heart rate and blood pressure, making sure your muscles have enough oxygen to either fight off a predator or run away from it. Cortisol pumps sugar into your bloodstream for a quick burst of energy, while simultaneously shutting down non-essential functions like your immune system and digestion. All of this happens in an instant, long before your conscious mind is even aware that something is wrong. This is why you jump when a floorboard creaks in the middle of the night, or why your heart races when a car suddenly swerves into your lane. By the time you realize it was just the house settling, or that the car has safely passed, your body has already prepared for war. This gap between the emotional reaction and the conscious realization is known as the emotional hijack. It's the moment when the ancient brain takes the wheel, leaving our modern, rational self as just a passenger. But emotions aren't just about surviving physical danger. If they were, our emotional lives would be a lot simpler. The true complexity of human emotion comes from our nature as social animals. For a solitary creature, fear and aggression might be enough. But for a human, survival depends on the group. In our ancestral past, being cast out from the tribe was a death sentence. So, we evolved a whole suite of social emotions designed to maintain our status and connections within the group. Take shame, for example. It's an intensely painful emotion, often felt as a physical weight or a burning heat. From an evolutionary perspective, shame is a signal that we've broken a social rule. It's a correction mechanism, an internal alarm warning us that we're at risk of being ostracized. Similarly, guilt keeps us accountable to people we've wronged, making sure we make amends and maintain our social bonds. Even pride, which can sometimes be seen as a negative trait, has an evolutionary purpose. It's the internal reward for achieving something that increases our value to the tribe, motivating us to strive for excellence and leadership. Logically, we know that giving a presentation won't kill us. But to our limbic system, standing alone in front of a group of people who are judging us is a moment of extreme vulnerability. It's the ancestral fear of being scrutinized and potentially rejected by the tribe. The sweaty palms, the trembling voice, and the racing heart are your body's attempt to survive a situation that your mind perceives as a lethal threat. Understanding this ancient programming is the first step toward gaining more control over our emotional lives. It's about recognizing that our reactions, however intense they feel, are echoes from a different time. By learning to listen to these echoes, we can begin to navigate our modern world with more wisdom and less fear. This mismatch between our evolutionary history and our modern reality is the root of much of our psychological distress. In the wild, the fight-or-flight response was intended to be short-lived. You either escaped the danger or you didn't, and once the threat was gone, the body would return to a state of calm. The stress of a high-pressure job or a strained relationship can keep the amygdala in a state of constant low-level activation. This chronic stress keeps the body flooded with cortisol, which over time can lead to a host of physical and mental health issues, from heart disease to depression. Understanding this is the first step toward mastering our emotions. It requires us to recognize that our reactions are often disproportionate to the actual situation. They are echoes of a different world, playing out in a reality they were never designed to handle. Someone cuts you off, forcing you to slam on your brakes. In that split second, the visual information of the car veering into your path travels from your eyes to the thalamus, the brain's central relay station. From here, the signal takes two separate paths. The first is the low road, a fast, direct route straight to the amygdala. This path is quick and dirty. It doesn't wait for a detailed analysis. It only cares about speed. The amygdala receives the signal and instantly triggers the fear response. Your body tenses, your heart jumps. At the same time, the signal is also taking the high road. This path goes from the thalamus to the sensory cortex and then to the prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought and executive function. The prefrontal cortex is the most recently evolved part of the human brain. It is responsible for planning, decision-making, and regulating our behavior. It analyzes the situation in detail. It realizes that while the situation was dangerous, the car has now moved on and you are safe. It then sends a signal back down to the amygdala, essentially saying, "Stand down, the danger has passed." The problem occurs when the low road is so powerful that it overwhelms the high road. This is when we experience road rage. The amygdala's initial spark of fear is instantly converted into anger, a defensive reaction intended to ward off a threat. If the prefrontal cortex cannot intervene in time, we might find ourselves shouting, honking the horn, or even chasing after the other driver. In that moment, we are no longer in control of ourselves. We have been hijacked. The challenge of emotional mastery is not to eliminate the low road. We need it to stay alive, but to strengthen the high road. It is the ability to create a space between the impulse and the action, to allow the rational mind a chance to catch up and provide a more measured response. This dynamic between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex is the central drama of the human psyche. It is a tension that has been recognized for millennia, long before we had the tools of neuroscience to describe it. Plato described the human soul as a chariot pulled by two horses, one noble and rational, the other wild and impulsive. The charioteer's task is to keep the two in balance, ensuring that the wild horse provides the drive and passion, while the noble horse provides the direction and control. In modern psychology, this is often referred to as emotional regulation. It is the process by which we monitor, evaluate, and modify our emotional reactions to accomplish our goals. But why are some people better at this than others? Why does one person stay calm under pressure while another collapses in a heap of anxiety? The answer lies in a complex interplay of genetics, temperament, and life experience. Each of us is born with a certain emotional baseline. Others are more resilient from the start. This innate temperament provides the foundation upon which our emotional lives are built. However, the brain is also remarkably plastic. The pathways of the high road can be strengthened through practice and learning. Our early experiences, particularly our relationships with our primary caregivers, play a crucial role in shaping how we handle our emotions. When a child is distressed and a parent responds with calm and empathy, they are essentially acting as an external prefrontal cortex for the child. They are helping the child's developing brain learn how to self-soothe and regulate. Over time, the child internalizes these patterns, building strong neural connections between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. On the other hand, if a child's distress is met with neglect, inconsistency, or aggression, those regulatory pathways may not develop as effectively. This can lead to a lifetime of emotional volatility, where the low road remains the dominant force. Yet, even in adulthood, the brain remains capable of change. Techniques such as mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy, and even simple breathwork are all ways of training the high road, teaching the rational mind how to better manage the emotional storms of the limbic system. To delve deeper into the psychology of our reactions, we must also consider the role of memory. Our emotions are not just reactions to the present, they are deeply informed by the past. The brain is an expert at pattern recognition. When we encounter a new situation, the amygdala quickly scans our memory banks for anything similar. This is why a certain smell might trigger a sudden wave of nostalgia, or why a specific tone of voice might make us feel defensive without our knowing why. These are emotional memories, stored in the hippocampus and the amygdala. Unlike our conscious memories, which we can recall as a narrative of facts and events, emotional memories are felt as bodily sensations and immediate impulses. They are the shadows of our past experiences, cast over our present reality. Consider a person who grew up in an environment where conflict was always loud and unpredictable. As an adult, they might find themselves becoming paralyzed with anxiety at the slightest sign of a disagreement in their workplace. Their conscious mind knows that their boss is not their parent, and that the office is not their childhood home, but their amygdala doesn't know that. It simply recognizes the pattern of conflict and triggers the same fear response that was necessary for survival years ago. This is known as transference, a concept central to psychoanalysis. We transfer the emotions of our past onto the people and situations of our present. Mastering our reactions requires us to bring these hidden patterns into the light of consciousness, to recognize when our feelings are being driven by a memory rather than the current reality. As we explore the hidden psychology behind human reactions, we must also look at the profound influence of culture. While the basic palette of emotions may be universal, how we express, interpret, and value those emotions is heavily shaped by the society in which we live. In some cultures, the outward expression of emotion is encouraged and seen as a sign of authenticity. In others, emotional restraint is valued as a mark of maturity and strength. These cultural display rules dictate what is acceptable to feel and show in public. They act as a secondary layer of regulation, filtering our raw emotional impulses through the lens of social expectation. In many Western cultures, there is a strong emphasis on the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is often viewed as the default. Desired state, and other emotions like sadness or anger, are seen as problems to be solved or suppressed. This can lead to a phenomenon known as toxic positivity, where we feel a sense of shame or failure for experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion. In contrast, Many Eastern philosophies emphasize the importance of balance and the acceptance of all emotional states as fleeting and natural. In these traditions, the goal is not to chase happiness, but to achieve a state of equanimity, a calm, steady mind that can observe the rise and fall of emotions without being swept away by them. This cultural framing profoundly affects how we perceive our own internal world. It influences whether we see an emotion as a tool to be used, a message to be heard, or an enemy to be defeated. The more we look at the science of emotion, the more we realize that the traditional divide between reason and emotion is a false one. We often speak as if the two are in constant competition, but in reality, they are deeply integrated. We use our past emotional experiences to predict how a future event will make us feel, and we use those predictions to guide our behavior. If we think a certain job will make us happy, we pursue it. If we think a conversation will be painful, we avoid it. However, we are notoriously bad at these predictions. We tend to overestimate the intensity and duration of our future emotions, a bias known as impact bias. We think that winning the lottery will solve all our problems forever, or that a breakup will be an insurmountable tragedy. In reality, we are far more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. We possess an emotional immune system that helps us adapt to both the highs and the lows of life, eventually returning us to our emotional baseline. It is about learning to listen to the messages our bodies are sending us, without being enslaved by them. It is about recognizing the ancient survival mechanisms at play in our modern lives. It is about acknowledging the power of memory and culture in shaping our perceptions. And perhaps most importantly, it is about developing compassion for ourselves and others. As we move forward, we will begin to peel back the layers of specific emotional states. We will look at the science of fear, not just the fear of the predator, but the creeping shadow of modern anxiety. We will explore the mechanics of anger, the fire that can both protect and destroy. We will delve into the profound depths of sadness and the evolutionary purpose of the low mood, and we will examine the elusive nature of happiness and the neurochemistry of connection. Each of these emotions is a masterpiece of biology, a thread in the intricate tapestry of the human experience. But before we can master these states, we must look closer at the actual biological interface where mind meets body. Serotonin, the stabilizer of our social status and well-being. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone that knits us together. These chemicals are the ink with which our emotional stories are written. To truly master our emotions, we must understand the chemical laboratory within. The human body is an orchestra, and the brain is its conductor. But the music itself, the feeling of being alive, is produced by a constant, shimmering flow of neurochemistry. For decades, we have used the metaphor of a chemical imbalance to describe everything from depression to impulsive anger. While this is an oversimplification, it points to a fundamental truth. Our reactions are inextricably linked to the molecular dance happening in the gaps between our brain cells. Each of our fundamental emotions is associated with a specific chemical profile, a unique signature that dictates how we perceive and respond to reality. Take, for example, the sensation of desire and motivation. This is the domain of dopamine. Often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical, dopamine is actually the chemical of more. It is the drive that kept our ancestors searching for food, for water, and for mates. It is what makes us scroll through a social media feed or stay up late working on a project. Dopamine is the engine of our ambition. When it is in balance, we feel focused, energized, and capable. But when the dopamine system is hijacked, whether by substances, technology, or an obsession with success, it can lead to a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, a restless craving that no achievement can truly satisfy. This is the biological basis of the hedonic treadmill, the tendency of humans to quickly return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events. Then there is serotonin. It is the chemical of contentment and social belonging. High levels of serotonin are associated with feelings of confidence, safety, and a sense of being valued by the group. Interestingly, research into primates has shown a direct link between social status and serotonin levels. The alpha of the group tends to have the highest serotonin, but if they lose their status, their serotonin levels plummet, leading to behaviors associated with depression and withdrawal. In humans, this chemical plays a similar role in our sense of self-worth. When we feel respected and seen, our serotonin rises, making us feel calm and resilient. When we feel excluded or belittled, the drop in serotonin can trigger feelings of vulnerability and despair. This is why the social stings of life, a snub, a rejection, a failure, can feel so physically painful. They are literal disruptions to our internal chemistry, and what of the bonds that hold us together? The glue of human society is oxytocin. This hormone is released during moments of physical touch, during childbirth, and during social bonding. It is what allows us to trust others, to feel empathy, and to form the deep, enduring attachments that are the foundation of family and community. Oxytocin softens the fear response of the amygdala, making us more open and less defensive. It is the biological antidote to the isolation of the modern world. Yet, even oxytocin has a dark side. This is the neurochemical basis of tribalism, the ancient instinct to protect our own and fear the stranger. An angry outburst is a surge of testosterone and low serotonin. A moment of paralyzing fear is a spike in adrenaline and cortisol. A wave of grief is the sudden withdrawal of the comfort chemicals we associated with a loved one. These are not just abstract psychological states, they are physiological events as real as a broken bone or a fever. It means learning how to cultivate the habits and environments that promote a healthy balance of these messengers.